Hi everyone, I'm Celeste. Welcome to my booktube channel, A Reader's Almanac. Today I wanted to talk to you about a very special author and a favorite of mine, Eva Ibbotson. Who was Eva Ibbotson? I've gathered a few facts here from doing some online research that I'll share with you. Eva Ibbotson was born to Jewish parents in Vienna in 1925, and at the age of 9, she moved to London to join her mother, who was a successful novelist and playwright who had fled Vienna in 1933 after her work was banned by Nazi authorities. The Nazis had moved into Vienna, and all kinds of changes ensued when they entered Vienna. People were fired from the universities. A whole bunch of laws were put into effect where people who worked in government were fired en masse. And additionally, they changed some of the regulations about language that could be used in academic journals and so forth. People were fired left and right. Agencies were taken over, and all kinds of national buildings, such as philharmonics and all of that. And many people were fired. Many people fled during the Anschluss. These experiences later fueled Eva's writing. She would often talk about people fleeing from Vienna and going to other countries. In England, Eva attended a place called Dartington Hall School before studying physiology at Cambridge University, but she was kind of squeamish and appalled by the thought of having to make a career out of conducting harmful experiments on animals, and so she switched majors, and she decided to discontinue her scientific research. And she briefly became a teacher in the 1960s and then embarked on a writing career. She had gotten married in 1947 to a man called Alan Ibbotson, who himself was an ecologist and academician. Eva didn't start writing until she was in her 30s, and she didn't start writing children's books until the 1970s when she was 50 years old. So it's never too late to start, right? Despite her late start, Eva would go on to write more than 20 books for children. She won the Smarties Prize for her novel Journey to the River Sea in 2001, and she died at her home in Newcastle in 2010 at the age of 85. So she did live a nice long life. I first discovered the work of Eva Ibbotson in a short story collection called A Glove Shop in Vienna and Other Stories. And the story that I read, my first contact or introduction to her, was through a story called Tangle of Seaweed. I then went on to read a story called Theater Street and loved that one too. Now, I didn't love every story in the collection. The first one was quite cloying and kind of sweet to me. It was a little too precious and cutesy, and at first I didn't hold out much hope for the collection, but as I started to read some of the other stories, I loved them more and more, and decided that I really enjoyed her prose style and wanted to move on to one of her young adult novels. I did read a novel by Eva Ibbotson, and the very first one I read was last June, and I did do a video on that, which I can link below for you if you'd like to hear my thoughts on it. And that was The Morning Gift. And here is the lovely cover for that. I am just so in love with this cover. I can't even begin to tell you the vintage photograph and the red tint. This starts in the spring of 1938. And it's about a girl named Ruth Berger. a young lady, and her family is forced to flee when the Anschluss is beginning and the Nazis are invading Vienna. And her family makes it to England, but somehow Ruth gets left behind. A friend of the family's, who is an academician and archaeologist from England named Quinn, comes to Vienna and decides to help Ruth make it to England as a favor to her parents. Things ensue from there. There is romance in this, there is suspense, there's also humor, and it's just such a delightful and wonderful story. It's like a fairy tale that will tug at your heartstrings. It's just beautiful. It's poignant in spots. I cried in spots. I laughed in spots. It's just delightful. And so having read this, I was smitten, and I knew that I had to go on and read some of the other novels that Eva Ibbotson has written. And I did see online that there was a collection of her novels that had been published by Pan Macmillan. So I maybe may have splurged on an Eva Ibbotson haul and maybe got a lot of them. Which is not something I usually do. Usually, if I'm just trying out an author for the first time, I'm very, very careful about not overbuying their work, because what if you don't like them and now you're stuck with a huge number of their books? I also may have splurged on some of her children's books as well. And so I don't know an awful lot about what these are about. I do have some Facebook friends who in the interim have been reading some of Ibbotson's works and have presented their reviews. And so they all sound just so good to me. It's hard for me to decide what to read next, so perhaps you can help me. So I just thought I would go through each of the books that I have in my Ibbotson haul and give you a brief description from what I can read either on the back cover or what my understanding is that it's about, and then let's try to narrow it down to what are the possibilities for what I'll read next. So the first book is The Secret Countess, and this has a delightful cover as well. I love that. Look at the young lady here. And my understanding is that this takes place when the revolution of 1917 is tearing Russia apart, and it's about a young countess named Anna, and she has to say goodbye to her home in St. Petersburg and embark on a new life as a housekeeper in England. She is hired to maintain the Earl of Westerholm's crumbling mansion. There's lots of castles and crumbling mansions in the works of Eva Ibbotson. Anna settles into her new world until the day the young Earl returns from the war and a spark is ignited. It sounds as though it's very much a kind of fairy tale that is set in that world. In this case, World War I, or the Great War. So this one has been recommended to me by a friend as being the next one to read or the next best one to the morning gift. So it's a definite contender. I am very, very drawn to this one, but we'll see. So that's The Secret Countess. And then the next one is A Song for Summer. Again, another beautiful cover. Look at that. And this is about a girl named Ellen Carr who accepts a position as a housekeeper at a school in Austria. She finds herself in a world very different from the London that she knows. Ellen soon catches the eye of the mysterious gardener, Marek, who shares his secrets and sweeps her off her feet. So, and there's also the threat of war on the horizon, and the question is, will Ellen get the happiness that she dreams of? So this also sounds marvelous. I'm sure this would be an excellent one to read in the summertime. And I just love the sort of primary colors on the covers of these. So I want to read that one. The next one is called Magic Flutes, another lovely edition with a purple cover. And Magic Flutes is a richly imagined tale of intrigue and identity, and it starts in the spring of 1922. And a young Austrian princess, Teresa Maria, known to her ancient aunts as Putzerl, abandons her crumbling castle and her royal duties. Disguising herself simply as Tessa, she enrolls as an under-wardrobe mistress of the International Opera Company and soon loses herself in the intoxicating world of the Viennese opera. So another theme that runs all throughout Eva Ibbotsen's works are classical music, ballet, and opera. And in fact, I made an additional Eva Ibbotsen playlist with quite a few songs, and I keep adding to it. As I'm reading her work, I'm adding to my Ibbotsen playlist, so I'll post that down below too. And if you know of any works of classical music to add to it, I would be happy to do that, because certainly it can be a collaborative effort. So that is Magic Flutes. My friend Heather from Water Bear Reads, I know, just finished reading Magic Flutes and really, really enjoyed it and thought it was quite romantic. And then the next one is Madensky Square. And this I don't know too much about. I know it's about a girl named Susanna Weber. She owns a dress shop, and it is in picturesque Madensky Square, a quiet little world of its own, nestled in the heart of the glittering Vienna as the winter of 1910 unfurls into spring. And Susanna keeps a journal about life in the square and all the people, the various characters who live there. And I don't really know what the main plot of this one is. It's a thinner volume. It's not quite as long, but this seems kind of like wintry, springy to me. And it sounds like it would also be beautiful. And I loved in The Morning Gift the descriptions of the people working in the various shops in town. Just their relationships and their conversations that they had with each other and with customers that would come into the shops, the coffee shops and the dress shops and so on a regular basis. So I have a feeling I would really enjoy this one too, Madensky Square. We also have another one which is called Company of Swans. A Company of Swans. That's this one here. And this, I'm just going to read you the flap because I know nothing about this. In the gray scholarly world of Cambridge in 1912, Harriet Morton has lived her whole life under the strict rule of her widowed father and miserly aunt. When she's offered the opportunity to dance with the corps de ballet on a tour of the Amazon, she steals away on a boat bound for Manaus. On arrival, Harriet meets the captivating British aristocrat Ram Verney. Swept up in the exhilarating life of Brazil and the glorious worlds of romance and ballet, how can Harriet keep her newfound freedom when the life she left behind is catching up with her? A Company of Swans is Eva Ibbotsen's classic tale of romance, freedom, and dance. Those are her young adult novels. She also wrote quite a bit for children. I think the most famous book that she wrote for children is probably Journey to the River Sea. And I did happen to find this collection of her three best-known children's books. So there is Journey to the River Sea. That's a lovely cover. And then there is also the Dragonfly Pool. And there is also the Star of Kazan. The Star of Kazan has really intrigued me. And in fact, before I picked up these volumes, this trio of books, I had gotten a cover that I actually love so much more. These are lovely, and I actually paid quite a bit for them, but they're not the covers that I thought I was getting. You know how sometimes online they will show a particular cover, the seller does, and then when they send you the books, it's not the cover you wanted? That's what happened with these. Don't get me wrong, I think these are lovely, but the covers I wanted were these. And here's a different cover for the Star of Kazan. And I would like to get Journey to the River Sea and the Dragonfly Pool in these editions. As far as the children's books go, I think I'm going to start with the Star of Kazan. This is about Annika, who lives as a maid at a grand house in Vienna. She loves the other servants as if they were family, and she adores the magnificent glittering city. There's only one thing that Annika longs for, the mother who abandoned her when she was a baby. So when a beautiful aristocrat arrives to claim her, it's as if all of her dreams are coming true. She's whisked off to her true home, a remote estate far, far from Vienna. But the dark and crumbling castle echoes with secrets and lies, and as Annika unravels the truth, she finds herself in terrible danger. So, with all of that said, I am really interested in finding out what my next Eva Ibbotson read will be, and I'll tell you what I'm leaning towards. The books which are calling me in particular at the moment, there are 2 of her adult books and 1 of her children's books. The 2 adult books that I'm considering are The Secret Countess, which seems, I don't know, just sort of springy to me. It may not be at all. It may be set in the fall. Who knows? It may go throughout the entire season. But I don't know. There's just something about this that's calling me. The other book which is calling me is A Song for Summer. So I don't know why. I think it's just something about the storyline of going to Austria and the story of Ellen and the gardener Marek. I don't know. It just is calling to me. Now bear in mind, as I said in my last video, I make these grand plans for what I'm going to read next, and then, you know, whatever my current mood is, sometimes that all just gets thrown out the window and I'm reading entirely by mood. So who knows, maybe I'll pick up something completely different. But as of today, these 2 are sort of calling my name. Let me know if you've read either one and if you think it's worth it. And then in terms of a children's book to read, I think I'm definitely going to be going with The Star of Kazan. I do want to read Journey to the River Sea, but for some reason, I'm just so attracted to the beginning of this book and the descriptions of nature and the hillsides and so forth in Austria that I think I really want to go with this one. It's just kind of calling me. Now there are some good audible versions of these books as well, but I would warn you that they are abridged, which is a shame. I don't know why they would abridge them. I guess I'll find out after I've read some more whether I think they should be abridged or not. They have some marvelous readers, and so the sound quality and the evocative storytelling is there, but for some reason they've been abridged. So just be forewarned of that up front. The last tip I would give you is if you're deciding that you would like to also read some of Eva Ibbotson, don't read the introductions. I made the mistake of reading the introduction for this one. It's by Sarah Manning, and it's a very good introduction. Unfortunately, it gives away quite a bit of what happens in the story. So if you're going to be reading some Eva Ibbotson, I would advise you to just go in blind and just start reading, and don't read the introductions until afterwards. That all being said, I hope you have enjoyed this. I certainly have. Just wanted to share the books that I currently have by Ibbotson in my collection, and maybe you can help me decide in the comments below which one you think sounds most appealing or what I should read next. Thanks for sticking with me all the way through this. Have a great week, and we'll see you again real soon. Bye-bye.